Hello and welcome to the Nanofilm Improv Comedy Podcast. I'm Dave Heron. This podcast does not seek to try to teach you how to do improv comedy. No, there's plenty of those around. This podcast charts my own personal journey in the art form, the trials and tribulations I've had, the small successes I've had along the way, from tricks and techniques that I've learnt either from other improvisers that I performed or been to classes with, or indeed just things I've thought about on my own. So you're very welcome in joining me on this podcast series. So let's move off rap, because we could talk about this ad nauseum.
Quite.
Guess who did GCSE Latin?
Is it you?
Yes, and I learned two words: ad and nauseum.
Well,
that means just goes on till you feel sick, I think.
Well, e pluribus Dave.
More of that? What does that mean?
Well, e pluribus unum, which I think is on the American dollar, is from many one, but e pluribus Dave is from many. Yeah. We got Dave.
We could, if we were going to go back and do We Are Dave in Roman times, we could use that phrase, couldn't we? And we'd have to speak Latin, which I think, given the improv is still being worked on, I think the Latin would probably be a step too far, wouldn't it?
Well, one of the main things I struggle with in improv is using language to carry things, like an over-reliance on it. Like, I could be using more object work or sound effects or silence to be conveying my point. So
yeah.
If it were in another language, I think I would suffer more than the average improviser.
Well, we've suffered more with your patois. I'll be honest. We had to.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in this group who's not done patois. You're going to get yourself cancelled.
Your political sensitivities are well known. And your object work is also not too bad.
The most extreme accent I've ever done is a bloody Aussie accent.
It was.
So I'm a true blue Aussie legend, mate.
Yeah. That is a good accent. And
it's wiser.
We all do have our stock accents. Mikey has South African.
Yeah.
Emily has Irish. Well, Becky Lynch.
She's the man.
She's the man. And I've got, don't know, old lady. Old posh lady.
The Hawley accent.
The Hawley accent, yeah. The accent of the people just outside the M25. So let's talk a little bit about We Are Dave. Do you like it? Is it all right?
Yeah.
Good. Anything you've kind of learned? I've learned some things from you. Can I do that?
Sure.
I've invited you on to talk about yourself, but let's just talk about me.
Yeah, go for it.
One of the things I've said to you before is what I enjoy about the group, and what's been really eye-opening for me and caused me to do the same, is the self-reflection of the group. And not in this kind of way that you get when people, I say people, I mean me, when I first started doing improv, like you'd have a bad gig and it'd be like, at a jam where you only had like 2 minutes. Again, I think I've done another podcast on this as well. But you do like 2 minutes and then you go, oh, there was a terrible performance. You feel bad for the next day or two and everyone thinks I'm a bad improviser and oh God, I'm never going to do this again. I do like the self-reflection in the group, and I've learned from that. And one of the ones I've spoken to you about before is the one where you said at rehearsal, I've noticed that I've been the antagonist in a lot of these. And I just was like, yeah, I think you have. And then I was like, oh God, have I been like this as well? Have I done it? And yes, I do it, right? And I've been really guilty in the past of, and hopefully not so much now, but I think I still do it periodically, is trying to find the turning point quite quickly, as opposed to what we did that rehearsal, goodness me, about a year ago, I guess now.
Yeah.
When it was a really intense session where we just tried to just keep the everyday scene going as long as possible without anything so funny or quirky happening.
Oh, yeah.
Or out of character, should I say, of the scene. That was something that I really picked up on, was you saying that. And Mikey and Emily have been the same as well. That reflection of, oh, actually, I've noticed I've been doing this. And it's made me think, oh my goodness me, I've done that as well. And that's part of the reason why I film it as well. And now instead of just looking back and going, God, wasn't I amazing? I look back at it and I go, I wasn't very good there. And that's not in that kind of, my ego's big enough to sort of go, oh, not, lose sleep about it, but go, okay, well, that's a development thing. Maybe I just didn't do that right, or I didn't think about that in a certain way at all. So that's one of the big things that I've learned from you and the rest of the guys in the group is that self-reflection. Is there anything you've kind of enjoyed about the group? We start with enjoyed about the group and things that you've just kind of thought that you haven't, I guess, actually thought about before.
The absolute number one thing that I've gotten from the group is the importance of being with people who just share your type of comedy. They don't have to be all the same, but they should be complementary. And some of my favourite times in We Are Dave haven't been in the rehearsal room and haven't even been on stage. It's been just going to the pub or just grabbing a meal. Yourself, Emily, Mikey are all bloody funny folk. It's a genuine privilege to get to perform and hang out with you guys.
Because we didn't really know each other properly beforehand. I mean, to be clear, I knew you, I knew Emily, but not in the way that we know each other now, right? We had a sort of other groups in the improv scene. And Mikey was obviously the sort of person that I brought in from the wilderness.
Yes.
I do feel, I'll be honest, quite biblical about that. I feel like I'm the guy that brought the prodigal son home. So if he's listening to this,
he won't be. He doesn't listen.
He doesn't listen. He did listen to the last 8. I think that was a hyperbole. I think he means the last 8 minutes.
I think if you put his name in any of the titles, he'll probably listen to those.
Maybe. Okay, I'll do that then.
Just call it Mikey Lewis. Interview with Lewis.
Yes. I could do that. And maybe he might comment on it. Who knows? He doesn't use social media anyway. I think he's just too busy, doesn't use his phone. But that's another podcast for another day. But the fact that we didn't know each other properly, I mean, we kind of did, and it was just these itinerant parts that I brought together that just clicked. That was the nervousness that I had at the beginning of We Are Dave. I thought, these people are very funny. I find them funny. But when you kind of, you go to like a wedding or something and you don't know the rest of the guests, but you know them and they don't know you, and you're only connected by the person getting married. So that was my worry. But I have to say, I agree with you. I think it's been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed us performing. I've enjoyed being on stage with you. I mean, the fact that we've had good gigs has been, the icing on the cake, but actually just being on stage and mucking around, and even the rehearsals, which some are definitely unrepeatable on this podcast.
Yeah.
For worry about censorship.
In matters of both taste and quality of improv.
Quality! Yes.
We've done some shit, Dave.
There has been. But the fact that that's another thing as well is the judgment layer when we've rehearsed, certainly when we rehearsed at the beginning, when I think we're just kind of testing each other out with sort of the styles and the comedy and etc.
Yeah, when I was in my probation period.
Yes. And you passed that, you got a little certificate.
Yes, thank you, Papa.
That's quite all right. I just printed it up here. Actually, I printed it where it saved printing paper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that why it was watermarked?
It was watermarked with my company's headed paper.
You heard it here, folks.
He is
Dave
a tight ass. Yeah, that's right. Well, who always thought you could get ahead if you got ahead with improv? I'm going to use that. That'll be the title for this podcast. So let's finally talk about teaching, because you are moving in teaching circles now, aren't you?
Yes.
Look at you.
I've put my...
From an acorn groweth an oak tree, teaching other people how to do improv. How's that going? I've got some views about your teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I will share with you. But I wanted to just know would you rather hear my views first, or would you like feedback after?
Oh, it would be funniest if I gave my views first. And
I think so.
You just contradict them.
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted now to ask about your teaching. Your teachings, like you're some sort of guru there, that I may have to sit under a tree with you and listen to the learnings of Lewis Hill.
Namaste.
Indeed. You're welcome. No idea what that means. Actually, I do know what it means. It means hello.
Yeah.
It does mean hello.
Yeah.
My aunt and uncle are in India right now. This has got no relevance to this podcast, but I just sent him a message saying namaste. And he said, what? That was the end of that conversation.
This is riveting stuff, Dave.
It is. It's no wonder I've got no sponsorship for this for this podcast. All 4 listeners bored to tears. No, I wanted to talk about the teaching of improv that you do specifically with the hip hop. What sort of things have you found you really enjoy about teaching, and what sort of things do you still find a bit of a challenge with teaching hip hop?
So I think one of the things I enjoy the most is bringing some new ideas into dingbats, telling people about them. I think even teaching is a bit of a strong word for what I do. And then seeing how people pick them up and play with them and start to become passionate about the same things that I do. Within Dingbats, it's something that we create together. Like, hip hop improv didn't exist in Dingbats a couple of years ago, but now with a course and a few drop-ins, there are a few people who are chomping at the bit to do some more hip hop, and there's hopefully going to be a group or 2 coming up, and it's really great to see that, while I absolutely don't own hip hop at Dingbats, I've helped to introduce it and make it flourish, and that's really gratifying.
I think that's the case. I totally agree with that. And actually, I think if you wanted to, I think there would be a much wider demand for it as well, beyond just the local sort of Dingbats community. I think that actually there are very few hip hop improvisers. You see a lot of stuff of sort of teaching people how to do scene work. You teach about musical, teach about clowning, and that's already good. In fact, actually, I want to do some clowning at some point, but you rarely see someone say, "I'm going to teach you how to do hip hop improv, rap improv," and I just think that it's one of the things you talked earlier on about Track 96. I remember doing a class there as well. I did one there. It was a rehearsal there. I have never sweated so much in my life. And I have run the London Marathon, and I was dripping, and they were so supportive and lovely, but I was absolutely dripping with sweat because of the nervousness of doing improv.
Oh yeah.
And it was exhilarating, right? Yeah. I hadn't felt like that for a long time. Like, I used to have that with stand-up, like squeaky bum time of like, the morning I wake up to go to work because I do the gig after work. The whole day I was really, really worried. Mm-hmm. But doing that was just, and when I came to do improv, like long form, short form, started doing it, it was comfortable. It was a very comfortable environment because, as you said at the very start, there's a less pressure environment. There's a sort of a supportive community generally. Mm-hmm. But with the hip hop, that was suddenly, because the beat was keep going. That's me clicking, by the way. Because the beat was kind of going, I felt really nervous. I've got to produce those goods, as we were sort of saying. So I think there is a lot of demand for that, because I think there's people who would like that exhilaration once they've kind of gone past the normal long form improv or short form improv, and they're looking for something a little bit more sort of exhilarating is the wrong word, because I do love doing long form, but it's that kind of slight nervous energy and slight sort of, I guess, threat of failure. Which, can you say that in improv? But do you know what I mean? Like, well, you do have that with the beat, right? You've got a beat happening. You've kind of got to make it land, notwithstanding your point about rhyming earlier on. So I think that there would be. I think there's a lot of people who would be very interested in that. And I guess, you've done a number of classes elsewhere as well, haven't you?
Yes, I've taught over in Farnham as well. Did a class for them that was really nice.
Was it with Chris Smead's group?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Really, really wonderful group of people. So enthusiastic and taken to rap like a duck to water. So always an absolute joy spending time with those folks. And I've also taught at the Dingbats Retreat, which is also great because you get so many people who've not even thought about the concept of improv rap before, giving it a go and seeing everybody. You'll have preconceptions of the kind of people who might be interested in hip hop improv, but seeing the diversity of people who come and give it a go and absolutely smash it is another one of my favorite things about teaching improv rap.
What sort of things then do you still find a little bit challenging? Things that you do think, I could do that a bit better, or things teaching-wise that you'd like to sort of develop?
So there's the incredibly unsatisfying answer of, I need to teach more to have a solid grasp of how to be a good teacher. Because, I've taught for, a reasonable period of time so far, but there's no point where I can sort of not quite go on autopilot, but release the pressure a little bit, to hark back to earlier, and sit back and enjoy the work that my students are doing. My students sound so wanky, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm always fully thinking about, what are the teaching points here? What do I have to do next? Like, I'm obviously paying attention to the performances in terms of, what feedback can I be giving, but I don't have the ease of teaching yet that allows me to really enjoy performances.
I remember your first class. I think I was there. Certainly there was one of the first classes. I can't remember. I've done both the retreat, the Dingbats retreat back in 2024, and your first one, I think, was at the Hall Theatre in Crawley. And I remember you had your notebook out and everything, and it was kind of, I remember my first time teaching, I had a script. I've still got the script written down somewhere. It was like 6 or 7 pages, like, now go around and get everyone to give a round of applause, like, because you're so nervous. But eventually it does sort of fall into place. But as long as you're kind of open, I think I've tried to do that and be receptive to sort of feedback. Some feedback you'll take and go, that was really great. And other feedback you just kind of go, thanks very much, but I'm just going to continue doing it my way. The worrying thing is when you're a teacher, it's very different to being the actual performing improviser.
Oh, yeah.
Because you are on high alert. I find it exhausting. I don't know what you think, but it is knackering, right? Because you're trying to make sure that you kind of keep everyone happy as well. I don't know about you, but I certainly worry a lot about what people are thinking about my teaching still. I think I've got a bit better about that. But do you worry how other people are sort of thinking about the teacher, or is that you just thinking, I'm just going to do it my way and then I'll reflect upon it afterwards?
Yeah, I think probably the latter, to be honest. Like, it's both a blessing and a curse to be able to deliver teaching where such a high percentage of the cohort are your friends. So obviously you don't want to let your friends down, but also that your friends don't have to mince words. If they have feedback, they don't have to hide it. So I knew that my friends would be giving me, feedback as and when, and I would ask them between sessions sometimes, what went well, is there anything I can improve on? So yeah, just I'm quite a feedback-driven individual anyway. So I don't think there was anything particularly new in that process.
You're not somebody that would sort of get quite down and negative if they got quite a lot of feedback, because I think that I have historically been that way. I'll tell you, when I used to work at my previous organisation, I was told by my boss at the time, I worked in an office, and was told at the end of the year, when we were getting our end of year reviews, where we were going to get appraised and how well we'd done throughout the year, I was told I need to get feedback from 10 different people, and each of these 10 different people had to provide one, like, a bit of positive stuff and some negative stuff, and by negative, dress it up. Of course, it was developmental. But of course, what happens is, naturally, people tend to go to, when they get these sort of comments, they go straight to the negative stuff. And it scarred me. I know exactly when it was, and I know exactly some of the comments that came back. And ever since then, at work, I've almost sort of I've avoided doing any of that kind of feedback stuff. I allow people to kind of just give me some thoughts and stuff, but I'm very careful because I got really down about it. And I didn't, when you're starting something off with teaching, I remember 1 or 2 people tried to give me some feedback as a result of that. And it was well intended. That's exactly what they came for. They were well intended. The point is, I was so nervous about doing the teaching that at that time probably wasn't the right time to have given people. Maybe it would have been more suitable to let me do 2 or 3 of these things, let them run for a bit. So you have some sort of, are you quite positive about receiving feedback, or can it have a negative impact on you?
So, I don't jump for joy when I receive constructive criticism. I don't think anybody does.
No.
And, it certainly can be disappointing if you receive a large volume of criticism. But the main thing for me is, did people feel like they spent their time wisely by being part of it? Did they enjoy it? Because if most people did, and particularly if they were interested to do some more, I think that outweighs any level of constructive criticism. And while I don't think I would have taken this view at the time when I taught the hip-hop course, the way I try to take on feedback now is not like a big pile of to-dos in a list, but like, if you'll excuse the wanky terminology, a river. There's always going to be something that you can work on to be a perfect person, to fully get on top of your to-do list is fundamentally impossible. And not just very hard, it's impossible. To unexpectedly harken back to what we were talking about, knowing that it's impossible takes the pressure off. And by picking up one or two of these constructive criticisms, I'll just pick those one or two. And I know that it's an iterative process. It will be a little bit better next time.
Are there things that if you had to name one, is there one, sorry to put it on the spot now, but is there one that you distinctly remember, and I'm not saying attribute it to anyone giving it to you, but one particular bit of feedback you thought, actually, that's really good?
Yes, so there's one piece of feedback I got in the course I delivered, which was, I did a lot of games where we were all in a circle, and like one person would rap a line and the next person would rap a line, and so on and so forth. And the feedback I got was to mix up the order of the circles, because I'd form the circle for the icebreaker, the warm-up, and whatever way of thinking I was trying to instill at the start of the lesson, and people would just be like that for like half an hour. And I've seen many people do teaching in circles, and they've mixed up the order. Because that's not something that is important to the teaching, it wasn't something that I thought about doing or even wrote about in my notes as a reminder. But it taught me that you have to think about the way you're teaching as well as just what you want to deliver.
The how rather than simply just about the what. Yeah, that is interesting because it goes back to what you said earlier on around, did people spend valuable time at your session? Does it alter the fact that people didn't enjoy it? No, not at all. People did enjoy it.
And the bottom line is, if people didn't have a good time, that's valuable in itself as well.
It can be. I also think there's sometimes where, sometimes you're going to like a approach of teaching. And I know that George Butcher has quite a different style of teaching to what I have.
So who's George Butcher?
Well, you may have heard of him. He's in dingbat circles. I've done a couple of scenes. I mean, I've made him look good, I'll be honest.
Right.
He's done a lot of teaching. He knows a lot of improvisers.
Oh, Gorbachev. Yes.
Gorbachev.
Yes.
Yes.
So I didn't realise you had a pet name for each other. George?
Well, he has another pet name for me, Bitch.
Well, I think that's highly inappropriate.
It is highly inappropriate.
Only I get to call you that.
But there are different teaching styles, right? And I think that's absolutely fine. Sometimes just to say, I didn't particularly like that, that's absolutely fine as well. But if you did what you set out to try and do, and most people enjoyed it, I think it's fine. I mean, for what it's worth, here's my feedback now. So brace yourself.
Oh, I forgot this was coming.
Yes.
Whoops.
I think you straddle, good word, the side of being an excellent improviser and someone that other improvisers look up to, with a very supportive approach to teaching. I say this, personally experiencing this, I really don't feel comfortable doing hip-hop improv, even though you've tried to manhandle me into doing gigs and you've been very nice and polite about it. At the improv retreat in 24, and you tried to get me on stage there, I couldn't do it. That's not because I'm in any way like too nervous or like, oh, I am nervous. That's the whole point. I can't do this. I know that I would have messed it up. It's not like, oh, I think I would mess it up. believe you me, I'm confident in other areas, but there I wasn't. But I think you strike the perfect balance between being an excellent improviser who's not only just excellent at hip hop improv, clearly, but excellent at other areas of improv as well, and make other improvisers look good. You've got that side of things. And then on the flip side, having that ability to create that support environment. And as I say, I've been in those classes where I felt I can't do this, and yet you've kind of nurtured me and others through that as well. Now, this sounds like a complete fucking love fest, but it is true. That's my feedback.
Well, that's a wonderful thing for you to say, Dave, and I really appreciate that. And the instinct is high to make a glib quip, but you know what? I will accept it.
I've already said that. I've already said it. I think I called it a loving. I could have used another word.
I write my classes by basically being what do I want? What do I think the audience would want to be able to do at the end?
Yeah.
And, you know, I can only write that from my perspective, but also that means that I know it would be fun for me.
And that's what I think you do have to stick to. It's the same as we spoke about with improv before, just generally even on stage. If you don't share that sense of humour or comic connection, it's not sense of humour, it's the comic connection with other people, then you're going to struggle doing this art form. I just want to call out about George. George, just to be very clear, is an excellent improviser. This is the guy we were speaking about earlier on. He's a great improviser.
Yes, George.
And he's a great teacher, and he's a good friend of mine. Is there anything else that you'd like to say as we sort of begin to wrap this up now with the theme tune music sort of beginning to play softly in the background? Are there any sort of words of wisdom, one sort of piece of learning that you've sort of taken from your journey so far in improv that you'd like to share with all three of my listeners?
Yeah, so I'll share the secret second difficulty with teaching I may have alluded to before, is getting people willing to give hip-hop improv a go in earnest. Because people will happily turn up for a drop-in and, you know, spend a couple hours in the world of hip-hop and think, oh, that was fun. It's a jolly good jaunt in. Did something new and that was good. But to find people who think, wow, this is really fun. This is something that I would like to do on stage into the long term is so difficult. And to get people keen for courses, you need people who think, right, I am going to have to be ready to be in high pressure environments, to worry about not being able to rhyme in front of a bunch of people for weeks and weeks on end.
I think there's a little bit more to that, though. I think I've always found hip-hop improv, you go and see someone like Track 96, they are super impressive, right? They really are impressive. And I know one or two of the guys in there, Mike, I know Miriam, they're lovely people. The only thing I would say that has struck me is I haven't seen enough, firstly, of their hip-hop. I've only seen a little bit of it. The issue I think I've had with hip-hop improv is it's impressive as a showpiece, but in terms of it developing into a sort of a longer art form, that's where I think some of the things you've tried to experiment with, John Misler, in terms of can you do sort of a longer form hip hop, so you have a long form scene. So for the for normal people listening to this, what I mean by long form is essentially improvised scenes where everything's made up. They're not the short games that you might have seen on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Have you ever seen Hamilton?
No.
The musical?
No, I haven't, but I have heard of it.
I think if you were to watch that, you would understand how long form hip hop can be just as descriptive in terms of characters, emotions, and a narrative. A lot of the hip hop you'll see is short form. A lot of the things that we've covered in the course, all short form, really. You've got scenes into rap, which are, you know, maybe medium form. But just using that as a basis, if you were to do, say, like the musical course with John Misler, that was musical. That was narrative. You know, there are characters, there are emotions, there was an engaging story. And to swap out the piano and more free-form structure of a musical with, a beatbox and the more tightly controlled cadence and flow, I don't think necessarily has any bearing on the components that you would think are lacking from long-form improv to long-form hip-hop improv.
I just think it needs that awareness then, I think. That's probably it, is that when I go and see shows involving hip-hop, they tend to be sort of short-minute bursts. So I talk about your other rap group.
Untitled Rap Group.
It was a short burst at Hoopla. So you're basically just doing hip-hop improv games or exercises.
Absolutely.
Which I don't think, which is impressive to watch it. And I can't say that enough. It is extremely impressive as a showpiece to watch it, because I cannot do that. And that's one of the things I think an audience should be able to do, is look at that and go, I can't do that. That is impressive. But I think because the short stints that sometimes Track 96 or yourself or other hip-hop improv groups get, they're quite short sets rather than building something out. I think there's wasted opportunity there to build in hip-hop. And as I say, the talent that you've got, Untitled Rap Group got, Track 96 have got, the talent there is enormous. And I know that those guys are also very, very good long-form improvisers themselves anyway. So being able to expand that out, I think, would just give it. And back to your earlier point about getting people interested in improv and coming to the hip-hop improv classes, there's some sort of thing in there that isn't just about, it's the impressive nature. Actually, I can build a creative, improvised world around that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the further nicheness of hip-hop improv limits the opportunities to get on that stage for that long period of time and get feedback from audiences and build a following and start delivering these narrative pieces supported by hip-hop. Even in the musical space, you've got Showstoppers, you've got Dreamweaver Quartet, and apologies if I'm missing anyone else, but I don't think there are that many players.
No, exactly. It's quite a small group, so I think there's definitely scope for expansion. Right, well, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for coming around. Thank you for sat here. The mad people are now back in my house, so we're going to have to end this.
Of course, yes. If you could just untie these handcuffs.
If I could do.
And they are rubbing a little bit.
And I'll put my clothes on now as well.
Yes.
Thanks, Lewis Hill, for joining me. If you enjoyed this podcast, then give it a like, give it a comment, question. I mean, I'm not going to be able to answer it because it's about hip-hop improv, likely, unless it's something to do with the technical nature of the platform you're listening, in which case you should contact your platform provider. Other than that, thanks very much for listening.
And if you didn't like this episode, please do go fuck yourself.
So thanks very much for listening to the Nanofilm Improv Comedy Podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you wanted to leave a like on your podcast platform, that would be fantastic because it lets me know that you've listened to it and you really enjoyed it. Also, if you wanted to leave a question or a comment about this particular podcast episode, or indeed other thoughts you've had about improv, I'd love to hear from you. It really resonates with me when people kind of respond and let me know their thoughts. It's just a lovely thing. And finally, if you feel super inclined, please feel free to share this episode or indeed the series with other lovers of the improv comedy art form. And I'll catch you in the next episode.